Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and this amazing series. I'm Aditya. In this series, we are using MERN Stack to develop a chat application. So without any further ado, let's begin with this video. Okay, so in today's video, we will see how to create a form and then we will create a registration page and a login page. And we'll also see the concept of navigation or routing in React. So let's begin. So let's go into our code. Here inside pages, let's create two pages. So we'll create login.js and let's create another one for register.js. Okay, that's great. Now let's create login.js first. So let's write an RFC component, like a React functional component. And here, let's inside this login component, let's create a form. So we will have a form over here, form, and one more form. Okay. Now after this, let's create some input fields. I will simply write input. We can remove this and I'm going to say type. So I'm going to take email and password because that's what our API expects for login. So it will take email, name equal to email, placeholder equal to enter your email. Cool. And also, let's also have a label so that we can put it as a label. So here I'm going to say label and let's put it like this, something like email and label. Cool. To keep it on one line, let's wrap this email and input into a form group. So let's write a div and let's write it here and let's wrap these two inside our div. So here we have email and another div we will create quickly, which will be our password. So let's go back over here and name it as label as password and input type as password, name as password. Let's create over here, enter your password, the placeholder, and now let's create a button to submit our form. So here I'm going to take another div. So let's write it like this, div, and then let's write your button. So this is gonna be of type submit, and let's write here, let's say login, simple button. We will style these things also, but now let's try to have this login page on our app.js. So for now, let's remove this title and all those stuffs from here and simply get the login component. So let's see if it auto imports, and it does. Great. And we can have it just self-closing tags like this. Cool. Now let's go back here and let's see what we have. So if we go back to our page, we have a simple form with email, password, and login button. Now let's quickly style this. So let's go to our login page and let's put this, let's give them some style. So as we are using Tailwind CSS, so you can write or add classes, those CSS classes of Tailwind with class name, because generally in simple HTML there is class attribute, but when it comes to JSX, that class becomes class name. So here we can just put all the classes that we need. So this form will be having a display of block. Then if I just hover over one of these classes, you will see that each Tailwind class has a CSS associated with it. So block class means it gives a CSS of display of block. Then we want a vertical spacing between each block. So each of this div will be a block. So we want vertical spacing between them. So let's say space y, let's say 5 or let's say 3. And let's see what we have so far. So here you will see that our form is starting to get some shape. Then let's get this form in the center. So we'll say mx auto. So margin from left and right to be auto, which will be there once we have some wrapper outside it. So don't worry. Now let's style this too. So this is our input group or form group. So here we will give some class name again. Now these two, so I want label to the left side and the input to the right side. So it's like a flex box. So I can say display flex. And one thing I forgot to mention, that the design we are trying to make or the app which we are trying to make is mostly towards the desktop side, but some responsivity will be there. But like my major focus will be for a desktop app. So let's go over here, and just in case if we want to have it on a mobile, or if we are doing a responsive design, then here we just put a breakpoint. So in Tailwind there is a breakpoint. So if I put MD, it should be row. On 768px and above it should be row, while on all other device below 768px it should be column. So anything above 768px it will be row, anything below 768px it will be column. So let me show you quickly how it looks. So this is row. Now if we go to responsive design, so let's make it on mobile. So you will see they are like a column, so one after the other or one below the other. So that's great. Now let's quickly style our input. So let's go over here to both of the inputs. So here and here, let's give a class name. Let's give it padding of 2. Let's give some border same, let's give it 100, and let's give it some shadow. Let's give some rounded corners, and let's see what we have. So here we have some not that bad looking, but we'll make it good looking, don't worry. And also here we will give some styling to our button. So let's give some styling to our button. So I'm gonna say BG, let's make it sky blue. So BG sky 500, then text white, then font. So text white will give it white font color. Font semi-bold will give it some like bold text. Then we will give some text of LG, means some font sizing. You will see it's showing that 1.125 gram of font sizing. And then let's give, when we focus on it, so we want on focus, outline, none, and let's see what we have. So here you'll see we have some button. Let's give some padding as well to it. So let's say px of 7 and py of 2. If we go back again over here, you'll see we have some button, and also between the label and the input, let's give some spacing. So here what I'm going to say is, on mobile devices I don't want any spacing, so spacing x should be 0, but on like larger screens, so those iPads and above, I want space x of maybe 4, and also I want items center, so they align in one line. So if we go back again over here, you will see like they're now aligned in one line, but just this email, it's kind of like, and if you see the gap between this email and input is not uniform, like even here the gap is not uniform. So what we will do is we can simply give width to each of these. So here I'm gonna say something like this. So for label I will give class name, and to this label as well, class name, and let's do multiple edits. So here for the both label, I'm gonna give maybe a width of, let's say we can use arbitrary value because it's just in time mode. So let's say each is having a width of 100 px, while this thing would be whatever the rest width is. So let's give these as well some width over here, and let's say width of, or let's give some like normal width. So let's give this each a width of 400 px. If we go back again over here, you will see now they are well aligned properly. Okay, now let's bring the form in the center. To bring the form in the center, we need to wrap this form in a layout. So what we are going to do is, so here I will be introducing a new concept. So if you see this page over here, you'll see that if I go to docs, the header is there. It didn't change. If I go to tutorial, the header is there. So it's as good as saying it's kind of like a layout where the header is a static thing over there, and the content below the header is changing dynamically. So how to create a layout in React? So there are various ways to do it, but one way which is using a props way. So I'll tell you how to do it. So in the pages, we will create a layout.js, which will be our layout. So here let's do RFC. And now So what we want is we will have our header over here. I will just comment it, but later we will add the header here. And after that over here, I'm not sure why. Yeah, over here we will have our content. So whatever content, same like this, whatever content this white color thing is, whatever content all these things is, it will be after header. So what we are going to do is here, let's give it class name. We will give it height of screen. Then we will give it let's do it like the height of 80 view height rather than screen. Let's do 80 view height, and let's do overflow hidden, and yeah, should be good. And then also let's add a uh, flex box over to this, but we won't give any position to this like row or column. So it's a way, like there are three ways you can center your element using either flex, position absolute, or with grid. So let's try the flex box kind of thing. And now how to apply the child, like the child, or how to get the children over here? Well, it's pretty simple. In React there is a special prop which is known as children, like it's literally called children. And here whatever element you pass inside that tag syntax of the component, those will be rendered here. So we will use double like closing and opening brackets, curly brackets, and inside that we'll type children. And then simply inside this login, what we need to do is import that layout. So we will get it layout from the same thing, like it's at the same location, it's in the same directory. And from there let's capital over here quickly, and then over here let's wrap this form component or that form in layout. So I will say layout, and then let's go down over here, layout, and let's remove this. Cool. Now if we go back again over here to our app, you will see that form is centered. We can also do, instead of mx auto, if we do m auto on the form would be exactly in the center. Okay, so we have our form exactly in the center. We have some login and everything over there, and also we can add our title. So let's bring in our title. So our title component, so let's write like this, title. Okay, title, and here we will say content as login, and let's do class name to this as well. So you can also pass class names or other HTML attributes, because it's nothing but a simple, it is going to render some HTML which is nothing but this h1. So you can pass whatever you pass on a normal HTML element, you can pass it on a component as well. So here I'm going to say class name, and then I will do it as a text center. So I want that into the center, and let's do it like text to Excel, or let's do Excel, and let's give it a font bold, and text, let's do zinc something around 800. Now let's see what, let's close it like this, and let's see what we have. Cool. Now you'll see that the login is towards the far left, so like top left. So what we will do is we'll just quickly bring it inside form that, like form tag. And if I show you in the inspect, so if I go over here and just show you over here, you will see our class name or HTML class haven't gone over here, like it's haven't went through there. So how to explode all other props, because remember we have this login. Now how to explode all our props, all other props on the title. So if we go to inside the title component, what we need to do is with content number, we can use a spread operator and just say rest. Okay, so all of the rest, like whatever are the rest of the props, we will just explode it over here. Now if we go back again, now you'll see that login is inside, it's exactly in the center, and you'll see all our class names are over here. So if we refresh this, you'll see it's still the same. So if we go over here, you'll see it's still the same. Now let's go back again over here, and let's see what to do next. That's done. Now I need to do the same thing for register. Now let's go over here, and let's simply copy this. Let's go over here, and instead of login we will say register. Now if you see, I'm writing too much of code again and again, especially this form code. Like the form is the same. Maybe there will be some extra field for register. There will be like instead of login, there will be register over here, and there will be another extra field over here, which will be something like, let's say, name maybe, because that's what our API expects. So here I will take name, name, then name. Yeah. So our register will, so to go to register, what we need to do is, we just need to put in, instead of login, let's say we have here register. So if we just substitute this with register, so if we go back again over here, we have the register page. Now, we also need to change the button level. We'll do that quickly, but we are writing too much of code again and again. So this is where atomic design principle for web development comes in handy, where you have the concept of atoms, molecules, organism, pages, and yeah. So it's kind of like pretty interesting concept. So let's quickly see how to divide this into atomic principle. But before that, let's see with this example, what are the atoms and everything. Okay. So the entire page is absolutely like a page. So that's one thing that we know. Now, next thing is, what are atoms? So atoms are those HTML elements which cannot be divided further. Okay. So if I take example, so if I just inspect this thing, so if I go and inspect this docs, so you'll see this anchor tag can be one atom. It cannot be divided any further. Okay. While this div can be divided further because this div has another multiple children inside it. So whichever things which cannot be divided further, or which don't have any children, or they are like indivisible, like simple like atoms. So those HTML tags are atoms. So you could say input tag, label tag, then we have what else? Anchor tag, p tag. So all those are atoms. Now molecules are nothing but some atoms combined form molecules. Best example is this search bar. So this search bar has input and search icon, and they are combined together to form a molecule. This also, like this logo, these four links, it's one molecule. This search bar, this four links, it's another molecule. So it's kind of like molecules coming together. So those molecules coming together form an organism. So this header is one organism. Now all these organisms, like a header, this title, this sidebar, all these things. So title is actually atom, but all these organisms coming together form pages. So let's quickly follow the same principle in our app. So what I'm going to do is, inside here, we already have title, so that's great. Let's create form.js. So what I'm going to do is, I will quickly copy this form from here as it is, and I'm going to call this sign, like this form, this particular form will be only for register and login. If I have a contact page, if I have where I'm taking contact form or some other form, at that time we will have a separate form. But because we won't be having any contact page, our main purpose for this thing is having a sign up and login form. But of course you can customize this. Let's see what we can do over here. So here we will say RFC, React Functional Component. Let's put the form over here as it is. Now let's take some props inside this form. First prop will be the button label. Okay. Then we will have the whether it's login form or register form. So let's say whether it is login prop. So by default, this prop will be true. Okay. So you can have like a default value for a prop. So you could pass it like this. So by default, this prop is gonna be true. And then actually this is all we need. Okay. So next thing we will need is, inside this title, now we want this title to be dynamic. So if it's a login, then we want the title to be of login. If it's register, we want it to be the title of sign up or register. So what we are going to do is, we will just remove this and put it like a curly brackets. Okay. Now let's say if it's login, so this is where we will be using ternary operator. So is login. So if this is login variable value has a true, so this variable is true, then the title will be login, else the title will be register. Okay. Let's put it on a new line, and let's import our title component. Import title from title. Cool. After that, we want to make sure that these things, they are kind of also getting repeated. So let's destructure them, or let's create new components over here. Now, if you want to create new component, and if they are related with one component only, for instance, like this div, which you could say it's like a form group, it's related with the form only, you can write or create those components straight away over here. So how to do it? Simple. Let's say we want to call that as form group. Okay, so each div will be our form group. So let's go back over here, and now let's copy this piece of code and let's put it as a return over here. Okay, so this becomes our form group. Now if you see, each form group will have different items inside it. So it will have label and it will have the input type. So what we could do is we can either have form group with label and input together, or we can create input and label as separate atoms. Complete pack of form group, we will just use the same logic of this, like creating input and label together. So what we will do is, let's go over here and let's have some name for the label. So whatever label we want to pass, the type of input, then let's say we will need the placeholder for the input, and yeah, it should be good. So name, we could remove it for now. So let's go back over here and let's write it label, and here it will be type instead of email, and here it will be placeholder. Okay, now placeholder, sorry, yeah. Now what we will do is we will just remove these form groups from here, like all of a sudden, and here we will say first form group. So let's write here form group, and it will have the following props. So one prop will be type equal to email, label equal to email, and placeholder, enter your email, something like this. And again, we will do the same for password. So let's copy this, let's put it back again over here, and we will say password, P capital over here, and enter your password. Now if this thing, so if this form is a, let's say if it's a register, it's a login form, then we just need email and password. But in case if this form is not a login form, if it's a register form, then we need the name as well. So let's add that field. So how we can add it? We can do conditional rendering of components as well. So I'll put opening curly brackets after title, and I will say is login. If this is true, if it's not login, then we will have the component of form group, which will take type as name, label as name, placeholder as enter your name. Cool. So this completes our form. And for the button, what we will do is we will create a separate element over here, separate component as button. So let's write here button.js. Let's go over here and let's copy the syntax of button, because most of the buttons for us will be the same. So what I'm going to do here is I will do RFC button, copy that button here, and here instead of writing, so sometimes you might need an icon with the button. Suppose if there is a login, then I might need an arrow icon or something like that. So in that case, I will just put it as a children, like whatever you're passing over here will come as a children. And sometimes we might need different color buttons. So sometimes it's primary button, sometimes it's secondary button. So let's create two classes. So here inside this function, we can take a variable. We can use either a switch operator or we can use something like this. So what I'm going to do is I will just for now keep it either primary or a default class. So let's say if it was type equal to primary. So by default, the type will be primary. So here I'm going to say if type, or maybe button type, so it won't interfere with the other. So button type, if button type equal to primary, then in that case the class will have these values, somewhat same, but instead of sky it will be, let's say, rose red. Then actually these, it is the matter of color. So what we could do is we could just say, instead of classes, let's say color. And then what we could do here is we could say, using a template syntax, we could say color and the rest of the classes. So let's take these classes from here and put it here. Okay. And let's remove it from here and let's bring this up over here. Now, as you see, the button could be submit, the button could be anything else. So for that, we will have our another prop, which is our rest. So all other rest props, whichever we are like we want to pass, that will come over here as rest. So they will be exploded over here like this. Cool. Now let's go back to the form component here and let's bring in our button. So I will say button and I'll keep the type as primary and I'll pass as so again we will say is logged in, then the button label is login, else the button label is register. Okay, and then we will keep it type as submit. Cool. Now this completes our form. Actually this should be, we don't need button label, we can just say login register and we can just keep is login. So that's complete our form. And now let's go to login.js and here let's simply import that form. So from here, instead of title, let's do form. Here also form. Let's put that form over here. Form. And let's say is login. So by default it's going to be true, so we don't need to pass anything here. While in the register, so let's now go back over here. Let's paste it over here. Register, this should be is login will be, now we want to pass true or false value. So if you pass it like in quotes, it will be taken as a literal value. It will be taken as a literal string. It won't be taken as a boolean value. To have it as a boolean value, we want to pass it in that curly brackets. So here we will say false. It's not login form, it's actually a register form. So let's go back over here to our app. One small mistake here, I just need to use double ampersand rather than double question mark. So then we will have our name. So that's great. So this is our register form. Now let's see what we get on a login form. So if I go back over here, actually we can just import this both and login. So if we go back again here, let's see what we get. So we have the login form here, which is great. Now if you see, what if I want to switch between these forms? Like first it's a register, now I need to go to login. So I just need to navigate from one page to another. So that's where the concept of a React router comes in. So it's a library or it's a package which will allow you to have a smooth navigation in your React app. For instance, if we go back again to this documentation page, you will see it says tutorial.html. Now if I go to docs, you will see that refresh thing wasn't there. Like if I go to tutorial, then blog and all those stuffs, how can I say, dynamic navigation, or you could say it's like a smooth navigation without making you feel that you are being taken to the new page without those loading effects. So how to do that? Well, this is where React router comes in. So let's read the docs and let's see what we have here. So first thing, it's a version 6. So if you're using version 4 or 5, that things have changed a bit here and there. So we'll just follow this version 6. We'll go to the installation and here we will just simply install it. So this says what we need to do. So for basic installation, we just go over here and just simply copy this command. So let's copy this. First we need to stop the server. Cool. Now next thing we need to do is, once that's installed, we can just straight away use it. So it says that we can either, so there are various ways to it, like you can either use it in browser, index.js, or you can use it in app component, depends. What we will do is we'll use it in app component and keep it everything in one, like in that one file of app for navigation. Later we can also create a separate file of navigation and import it as a component in the app component. So like the documentation gives you pretty detailed information of what to do and what to not. So let's go quickly and let's copy this. So we need to import browser router from React router DOM. So let's go to our app component over here and let's import. So we don't need the title component in app anymore. So let's remove this for now and let's have import browser router from React router DOM. And then what we need to do is we just need to wrap this div, or rather instead of div, we could say browser router. So it should be closed with this as well over here. And then after we have that browser router component, we will also need to import routes. So we will go over here and we will import route and route. Okay, so the main thing would be the routes, and inside routes there will be single multiple route. Okay, so let's go back over here again, and then here we will say route, then route, and then what we will do is we will just tell our route. So route. Now if it's a home screen, so by default I want it to be a login component or login page. So I'll say if path is equal to / which is a root path, then the element should be login component, because JSX syntax or HTML syntax, we will say login component, that should be the element. Now I will copy this again, and then I will say for the path register, it should be register component. Okay, now let's remove this from here and let's go back and see what do we have. So if we go to our app, if we just start it again, so it's a npm run star, you'll see like by default we are on login. Now let's type in our browser register and we are on the register page. Amazing. So this is how we can have the like React router with a very basic installation. Now I don't want to type every time here like this or like this and then go to that page, and also we need 404 page as well. We will get to that as well, or like this. Let's have a app like navbar at the top which will have those login links. Okay, so let's go back over here and let's create a component. So let's say we are having a header component, header.js. Okay, now let's write our RFC header.js. Now this would be like a header, so let's keep it like header, and here let's have those nav links. So let's give it some class. So here I'm gonna say it should be class name. Let's give it height of, let's say must be 10 view height, then BG, let's do blue. Let's keep our app name as blue. Yeah, let's do it kind of yeah, let's keep it sky blue, and let's do it 900, and here let's have those links one after the other. So here we can have our logo, so I can just write here div, then div, and here I can have the logo, and you can put image if you like, but let's give it some class name. Let's give it some like text, like 3XL, then let's do it like text gray of 50, something like this, and then let's do it font bold as well. Then let's have each of our menu items. So I'm gonna create another div. I'm gonna give it class name and div again, and here let's give it class of flex, and again I'm not gonna focus more on a responsive side, so it will be a flex class. Then it will have items center, then each one horizontally will have a margin, like between each of them on horizontal max margin will be, there will be some margin. So let's put this, and yeah, let's see how it looks first. Now if I go back to documentation again, so these link, like the link would be this link component which will come from React Router DOM. So let's go back over here and have it imported. So import link from React Router DOM. Now if I go back again over here, the usage is pretty simple. So you just need to show where you want to go and the text for that link. So let's quickly write that. So here we will have two links. So one link will be going to login, and the other link will be going to logout, register. We will also have logout link, but we will first have a skeleton of our app first quickly, and this will be our register. And now each of these links should have some class. So let's say text, like font color gray of 50, and font semi bold. Cool. Now let's have this header in our layout. So if we go back over here, so this is where we want our header. So let's keep that header. So let's import it, and let's see what we have. So if we go back again over here, we have the header. Now we just need to put flex on the logo on that register layer, like the menu links, and that should be good. So if we go back to header again, and to our header here we can just give flex item center and justify between, so they can go to the, like logo will go to left and the menu will go to right. If we go back again, we have these things properly set. We can also give some padding, px of 6, and we will have some, like they're properly aligned, like we have some very simple nav bar. If you go to register, it takes to register. If you go to login, it takes to login. Perfect. Now in the next video we will continue working on it, and we will see how we can like bind our content, like whatever we type here, and we will also see how we can then have like a two-way data binding, and how we will make some Axios request to our server. So that's all in this video. See you in the next video. Goodbye.